friends, and welcome to Into the Unknown, the show where we discuss any non-creature feature urban legend, and I hope your day has been hoppin'. That was lame. Very relevant, but still very lame. Now, I love animals, but let's be honest here for a second. When a human puts on an animal's skin, real or not, it's a little creepy. I mean, Donnie Darko, anyone? And have you seen vintage Easter Bunny costumes? Now you have. You're welcome. Now, I'm not here to cure your insomnia. As usual, I'm here to fuel it. So if you haven't already figured it out, here we go. I introduce you to the Bunny Man. Fairfax County, Virginia seemed like the ideal place to live in 1904. It was a safe, quiet, and close-knit community. However, as the population began to boom, people remembered that they had a local prison asylum. So they petitioned to get rid of it and have it shut down, and they were actually successful. But little did they know that their attempt to make their community safer would actually backfire. The inmates of the asylum were transferred by bus to a new facility outside the county. Unfortunately for Fairfax, one of the 15 buses was still in the county when the driver attempted to avoid something in the road, swerved, and crashed, killing almost everyone on board. Almost everyone. 10 of the inmates managed to escape, and police set out on a manhunt to apprehend all the prisoners. Following the crash, residents in the surrounding area started finding that their peaceful, wooded surroundings weren't so serene anymore. A walk through the woods would reveal hundreds of skinned, dismembered, half-eaten rabbit carcasses hanging from the trees. So yeah, safe to say a little less than a peaceful stroll. But what the police would discover was a much more gruesome sight. Over the course of 4 months, the police managed to track down and apprehend 8 of the 10 missing inmates, but they might have wished they never found the 9th. While searching the woods, officers came across the remains of Marcus Walster, hanging from a tree in much the same condition as the rabbits found in previous weeks, skinned and dismembered. The level of violence of this crime led police to believe that this was the work of the final yet-to-be-captured inmate, Douglas J. Griffin, who was in the asylum in the first place for killing his entire family on Easter Sunday. So it's safe to say the man had a fascination with rabbits, hence the name, the Bunny Man. And while it's not the creepiest sounding of supervillain names, it did ring a sinister chord with the people of Fairfax, and with good reason. After months and months of searching, the police managed to hunt down Griffin near Colchester Overpass in Clifton, Virginia. When police cornered Griffin, it is said that he was still covered in rabbit blood and the blood of his victim, Marcus Walster, and was in a feral state, acting more animal than human. Authorities attempted to apprehend him, but he managed to slip out of their grasp and ran over Colchester Overpass right in the path of an oncoming train, where he was hit and killed instantly. And some say his death was calculated, that he chose death over being captured, but some say that his poorly timed escape was a mere accident. So you're thinking, end of story, right? Well, you'd be wrong. It seems that the Bunny Man had no intention of leaving this world, despite jumping in front of a train. Physically, he was no more, but some say his specter lived on. In 1905, following the Bunny Man's death, October rolled around and residents once again noticed skinned rabbits hanging from the trees in the area, which may seem unsettling, but many people chalked it up to a local prankster. However, Halloween night rolled around and many began to think differently. Several local teenagers went to Colchester Overpass, now known as Bunny Man's Bridge, to drink and for a little bit of a thrill. As the night approached 12 a.m., only 3 teenagers remained in the tunnel under the railroad tracks. Reporters say that at exactly midnight, a bright light shone from under the bridge, and just moments later, the 3 teenagers were hanging from either side of the bridge, throats slit, and wide speculation places the blame on the ghost of Douglas J. Griffin, the Bunny Man. Unfortunately, this wasn't the last that Fairfax County would see of the Bunny Man's angry spirit, as over the next 80 years, similar incidents and many more deaths would occur. Halloween 1906. Adrian Hatala witnessed the same bright light in the bridge at midnight from a safe distance and heard her friends screaming. Seconds later, all 6 of them were hanging from the bridge, gutted. Hatala was so hysterical that when she told authorities what happened, they didn't believe her, and she was charged with the murder of her friends and spent the rest of her years in an asylum. Halloween 1913, 9 teenage victims hanging on the bridge. Halloween 1943, 6 teenagers. Halloween 1976, 3 teenagers. And the final incident on Halloween 1987. Janet Charlatier and her 4 friends were under the bridge, awaiting this supposed light. They didn't believe the legends, but when the clock struck midnight, that quickly changed. As Janet began to see the light, she panicked and turned, running out of the tunnel, feeling the skin on her chest tearing without anything piercing it. As she gets out of the tunnel, she runs face first into the feet of one of her friends, now hanging from a rope, gutted, and Janet, rightfully so, passes out. When she awakens, she finds she's bleeding from a cut on her chest, and her hair has turned white. She never returned to the bridge, and it was rumored that she was traumatized so badly by the event that she spent the rest of her years sitting on the balcony of her home every morning, staring in the direction of the bridge, unmoving, forever haunted by what she'd witnessed. Since then, every October, residents report seeing skinned and mutilated rabbits hanging from the trees, and some even claim to see the Bunny Man himself. Now, all of that might sound horrifying, and it would be if there was any substantial evidence to corroborate any of the claims of this particular version of the story. And some people do tell the legend differently, so before we confirm this one true or not, let's look a little bit deeper at the details and the differences to try and get to the bottom of this. Sometimes, as legends do, as the story is told and passed on, details can get muddled or just altered completely, and the same is certainly true of the Bunny Man legend. Some accounts say that the victims were found with a note attached to their feet reading, "You'll never catch the Bunny Man." Some say he carried a chainsaw instead of an axe, and that he's been spotted as far away as Washington, D.C., which are all more minute details. Where we really deviate from the original is when we talk about who the Bunny Man is. For some, the Bunny Man wasn't an escaped convict, but a young teenager who donned a rabbit costume, murdered his entire family, and hung himself on Colchester Overpass. Now, I save this final variation for last, as it seems this is the one that's most likely to have some truth to it, whereas the first 2 versions don't have any physical or historical evidence to corroborate their claims. Version 3, as we'll call this final telling of the Bunny Man, is a little less exciting, but the closest variation to any factual events. Some people who don't buy into all of the paranormal explanation of things simply believe the Bunny Man was a local man who hated the rapid development taking place in his once quiet town and was very, very angry about it. So, getting down to the truth of the matter, the first 2 variations, as creepy as they may be, the one of the escaped asylum prisoner and the one of the teenage murderer, simply aren't true. Archivist Brian A. Conley in Fairfax has done extended, detailed research to try and find some truth to this legend. He found that the most circulated story about the escaped inmates was actually started from a blog post from someone by the name of Timothy C. Forbes, who has never been identified. But there also wasn't ever an asylum in Fairfax even, and no record of a nearby prison until 1906, a couple of years following the original encounter with a Mr. Griffin. And speaking of Mr. Griffin, there is no record of this person anywhere, and the same goes for his buddy, Mr. Walster. No record. And it's the same old story for all of these supposed murders the Bunny Man committed. There's no record of any murders at Colchester Overpass, and even no records of violent crimes remotely resembling anything told in the legend. But the third version, which has the man who is angry about the population growth in Fairfax, has some truth to it, and Brian Conley points to 2 incidents that he thinks contributed to the origin of the Bunny Man story. Our first incident that Conley uncovered occurred on October 19, 1970, when Air Force Academy cadet Bob Bennett and his fiancée drove down Guinea Road and parked their car to talk and had an encounter with a man in a costume. It was around midnight when the couple parked their car on the side of the road, and not long after saw movement outside the window. A white-clad figure approached their car, and before the couple could do much more than react, the figure pulled out a hatchet and broke the driver's side window. They sped off, terrified, and saw that the hatchet was in the floorboard. They quickly went to the police and described what had happened, and while Cadet Bennett remembers the man being in a white suit with long bunny ears, his fiancée recalls a pointed hood, resembling something like the Ku Klux Klan. Both saw his face, but due to the darkness, they could not identify his race. The hatchet was examined, but no evidence could be found, and the man was never caught. The second incident occurred just 10 days later on October 29th, still on Guinea Road, but this time on the front porch of a newly constructed, vacant home. A construction site security guard named Paul Phillips said he was doing his normal patrol when he was approached by a man wearing a gray, black, and white bunny costume. The man suddenly pulled out a long-handled axe and began chopping at the porch post of an unfinished home, all while saying, "All you people trespass around here. If you don't get out of here, I'm going to bust you on the head." Phillips reported what he'd experienced to the police, but of course, by the time he did, the man was long gone. And while not necessarily an incident, around that same time, Fairfax police did receive a strange phone call. Not long after Mr. Phillips' encounter, the police received a call from residents saying that there was a man roaming around with an axe in their neighborhood. But by the time they arrived, he of course was gone. Later that night, they received another call, this time not from a concerned citizen, but from a strange man who only said, "You have been messing up my property, dumping tree stumps, limbs, and brush. You can make everything right by meeting me tonight and talking about the situation." The police set up a stakeout of the area that night, but nothing ever came of it. All of these encounters with the costumed man were documented and investigated by police, but ultimately dropped due to a lack of evidence. And since the 1970s, this particular Axeman hasn't been seen, though locals do still report seeing the Bunny Man around October every year. So while this isn't the scariest version of the tale, it is the truth. And urban legends often turn out to be just that, legends, spun from a grain of truth, and that is certainly the case with the Bunny Man. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you know the drill by now. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, it helps me out a lot. Share with your friends, and also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, because more creepy shit is always on the way from me, and you don't want to miss out on that. You can also follow me on social media, although I will warn you, I am mainly active on Twitter. And guys, I just wanted to let you know, if you haven't noticed already, we hit 25,000 subscribers, which is insane for me being on here for only 6 months. So thank you from the bottom of my cold, dead little heart. I appreciate it so much. I have a goal for you. Goal by the end of the year is 100,000 subscribers. We're a fourth of the way there. Can we make it 75,000 more? I think we can. You guys just keep doing what you're doing right now, and I think we'll be fine. Also, I was thinking about doing a Q&A as a sort of celebration of the 25,000. If you guys have questions for me down below, or if you'd be into seeing a video like that, please let me know. And let me know if you wouldn't, because if you don't want a video, I'm not going to put it on the channel. So let us grow this audience of delightful frightfuls and foster a positive community in the face of all this darkness. And some of you already know this, but I just wanted to touch base with you guys about the consistency of the videos. I did just start a full-time job that has me on 10-hour night shifts, which I'm not used to. So I'm sleeping during the day. It's fucked with my schedule. I'm trying super hard to still get one video out a week for you guys. But in addition to the new job, I'm also trying to pump up the quality. I'm trying to add intros and slides and footage and just make it more interesting for you guys to watch, because I want you guys to have the best content I can possibly manage to make. And because I've been trying to bring you guys better content, I've had to learn new programs and I'm not used to it yet, so bear with me here. I promise once this all settles down, I'll be on a consistent upload schedule. But you guys have honestly been so awesome about it and understanding, and I appreciate that so much, and I can't wait until I am used to the night shift, because right now I am awake from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. and it's fucking with me a little bit. So we'll get there, I promise. Stick with me until we do. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for everything you've done with me, and I think I've rambled enough. So before you click away, if you haven't already, thank you. But I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, look for me in your nightmares. Good night.